we don't know what's going to pan out in the next 6 months, particularly with tariffs. But if the economy keeps going as it is, with labour market starting to weaken a little bit, inflation's on track, there's no reason why they shouldn't cut. In fact, there's every reason why they should cut again.
This time the Monetary Policy Board's decision was unanimous. What was it that prompted the board to cut today when it chose to hold last month?
Well, I don't think the underlying economy was any different. It was just that they had a quarterly inflation number rather than 3 monthly inflation numbers. And the RBA has shown itself today with the statement on monetary policy, with the accompanying media release, with the decision, the press conference, that they are very risk averse to anything that might, even have a shadow of impact on inflation. So they are going cautious all the way.
For what reasons are they so cautious?
It's not apparently clear to me, at any rate, why it's so overly cautious. They did get it wrong, obviously, a couple of years ago when we were on the other side of inflation rising, and so they lost control and they don't want to be in that situation again. But if you look at the amount of uncertainty in the global economy as well as the domestic economy, to me, the risks are balanced to the downside. The RBA is reading them as balanced to the upside.
How many more cuts do you believe are likely in this cycle?
Well, I think we can have at least 2 more because the RBA's own forecasts show we can keep inflation on track and have those 2 more cuts. But obviously, we don't know what's going to pan out in the next 6 months, particularly with tariffs. But if the economy keeps going as it is, with labour market starting to weaken a little bit, inflation's on track, there's no reason why they shouldn't cut. In fact, there's every reason why they should cut again.
You touched on the labour market. It is holding up. Is this a good news story in terms of the Australian economy, that the Reserve Bank is bringing inflation back to the midpoint of the target band without compromising jobs?
It's an extraordinarily good story. In fact, it's just an extraordinary story. I mean, those of us that have been around for previous cycles, you would not have expected this to happen. But we are, maintaining that full employment. Of course, a lot of that's come from the public sector, which has been keeping the economy growing. That's starting to come off the boil. So now we need to see the private sector take people on board. That seems less likely, and I think we will see a further tick up. Maybe those forecasts the RBA has is a little optimistic for the year ahead.
And so what do you make then of the Reserve Bank's messaging?
Look, their messaging this year has been wildly gyrating. We went in May, admittedly amidst global uncertainty at heightened levels, to being very dovish or worried, and then we swung around again a month later at the next meeting to being much more hawkish. We didn't get a cut that we expected. Now the language is sitting there saying, well, we're uncertain and we don't know, and this could happen and that could happen. And it leaves you with the impression that they're walking through a very foggy path and they actually don't have a good sense of where we are, and that they're alert to the risks. I'd say that the communication is probably over-egging the uncertainty, that those risks in either direction at the moment don't look horrible. But certainly, if we're going to be worried, we should be more worried about the risks to the downside, given what's happening with Trump and tariffs and other geopolitical factors, and that we need to be making sure we're alert to those.
On the US, we will learn more about how tariffs are impacting the price of American goods later this week. Is it a problem for Australia's economy if inflation takes off again in the United States?
Not necessarily. Obviously we trade with each other, and to the extent we import goods from the US, then it has an impact on Australia. But I think pretty well all the economic modelling that's been done to date suggests that Australia is well enough protected from that. As the Governor's pointed out, we have a flexible exchange rate. We will adapt to that. I think what we would be more worried about is if we were to put reciprocal tariffs in place. But fortunately, that doesn't seem to be on the agenda.
Nicki Hutley, thank you.
Thank you.